Here we go, guys. Orioles taking on the Blue Jays tomorrow in Canada, 3 o'clock. Can't wait for it. Can't wait for this series. It's going to feel really intense. Obviously, Santander with the Blue Jays right in the middle of the lineup adds a little spice to it, but it's a rivalry that's been brewing over the past few years. The Blue Jays can't get out of their own way. They're running their, I don't say the same team back, but the core of their team back. They have to get it done this year from their perspective. The payroll, the front office, the Blue Jays have just been they've been trying to knock on the door, but they've just been going the wrong way. They got to make a move this year. They have to. They brought in Scherzer. We'll most likely face him on Sunday. They're going to roll out four righties. They'll roll out Barrios tomorrow, Gossman, Bassett, and then Scherzer. So it'll be very interesting to see what the Orioles want to do because the headline for the Orioles coming into this season, in my opinion, is let's just get to the All Star break and figure it out because there's a lot of moving parts. Starting with the biggest moving part is your best player, at least your best pitcher, Batista, coming back. Where is he? I don't expect him to pitch the eighth and the ninth inning this year, at least until the very end of the season. I don't expect him to pitch every day. Where's that going to leave the rest of the bullpen? Because that to me, I've been saying it, all off season. That's the headline for me with the Orioles is do they have the right pieces in the bullpen? They have enough pitching depth. They can move some things around. If they were wrong about a couple guys going into the year, they can switch it up. But that's going to be the test because there's be a lot of high leverage moments here against the Blue Jays. They can really rake. They got Bichette and Guerrero at the top of the lineup again. They got Springer. Those top four, you could argue, might be the best four in the American League with Bichette, Guerrero, Springer, and Santander. So, and the starters are good. We'll see. We'll see. Kerstead, O'Neill, Cowser, Mullins, Loreno, the outfield situation, playing time, O'Hearn, Mountcastle. Mountcastle notoriously loves hitting up in Toronto. Hard to take him out of the lineup, but there's not room for everybody. It would be, as I'm recording this, they haven't made the decision on Mateo yet. Is he going to get reps at short? If he excels there, what happens when Gunnar comes back? Where do you move Mateo? All of a sudden, there's so many moving parts. It makes this season a lot of fun, makes every day a lot of fun, figuring out what the lineups are going to be, figuring out when Hyde's going to pinch hit, who he trusts in the defensive spots, where Mullins fits in. Does he get to lead off? Most likely not. Does he bat at the bottom of the lineup? I assume that's the case. Does Cowser get to bat against all the lefties? Does Holiday get to do that? A lot of questions. A lot of questions. We'll figure it out starting tomorrow. But with the Blue Jays throwing four righties out there, the biggest question going into this weekend is how many at bats is Kershaw going to get? That's where does he fit in? Because O'Neill's under the impression he gets to hit all the time. If you listen to some of his quotes throughout the spring, and I imagine Cowser's penciled in there when there's a righty. So a lot of questions for Kerstead and his future with the Orioles. That's what I'll be looking at this weekend the most. Obviously, there's no Gunner. It makes it a little bit of a disadvantage. Not a little bit. It's a big disadvantage going into the weekend. But if you're gonna lose somebody, you lose them for the first week or two rather than just in the middle of the season. I would say that my prediction going into this week, I don't want to make a whole prediction with the Orioles for the whole year because I just think there's a lot of moving parts and I want to be positive. But going into this particular weekend, I want to survive it and just win two of them. Just split it. They're going to play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll throw Eflin, Morton, Sagano, and Kramer out there. Blue Jays team's good. If we can just come out of there 2-2, I'll be satisfied. I want to see us hit obviously, but in particular, I really want to see what Jackson looks like. That to me is the ultimate wild card for the Orioles. If Jackson's great, lifts everybody up, he moves up in the lineup. You have to account for him when you're game planning. Right now, he's not part of the scouting report. If you're another team, right? You're looking at Adley in the middle of the lineup. You're looking at O'Neill. You're looking at Cowser. You're looking at Gunner. So O'Hearn and Mountcastle, Holiday is kind of we know what he can't do. So let's just do that. Did he make the adjustments? Can he pop? If he can, I think the ceiling is super high for the Orioles. All right. What I decide to do on a daily basis so I can add value here, help you guys out, and I just don't want to follow a particular team. So what I'll have is an underdog pick every single day. For me, an underdog pick for value, at least plus 150, that's where I don't want to say anybody can just pick any game every day. But with baseball, there's so much volatility. I really believe strongly not to bet the favorites. So to reinforce that, I'll offer an underdog pick every day. If there's a game that I like outside of that, I'll certainly let you guys know. But my baseball betting strategy will revolve just around finding the underdogs because when I go through this season, give you guys my take on each team. I think there's a lot of value for teams that weren't very good last year. I think it's top heavy this year in the major leagues with about five. I got five teams above the rest, maybe six if you want to put. I'll get to that in a second. But then the rest of it, I find that it's a lot of. I could see that team being just as good as this team, and this team being just as good as that team. I'm down on a lot of teams that have projected high win totals. So I think we'll find a lot of value in the underdogs, and that's what I plan on doing each day. So, all right, I'll start with the National League. I think the five best teams are probably in the National League, at least going into the year, with the Braves in the East, the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks in the West, and then you throw the Phillies there in the East, and then whether you want to put the Padres in there or the Mets, make the argument that those are the six best teams, five, six best teams, with the Yankees losing Garrett Cole and the Orioles, not so sure. Astros kind of rebuilding. And yeah, I think the six best teams might all be in the National League. Will it shake out that way? Obviously not. They'll beat each other up and somebody will emerge in the American League. But all right, so we'll do National League first. My dark horse for a team that will be way better will be the Marlins. They must have to be much better, but they're going to get Alcantara back, their star pitcher, who I hope can be an orange and black by the end of the year. But I think the Marlins will have a good first half of the year. They'll bounce back. He makes the rotation a lot better, and I think the Nationals will be decent. I think they were decent last year. I think they'll be even better. They might flirt with a wild card spot. I'm going to give two teams out of the National League East. I mean, Braves, Mets, and Phillies are all preparing to win the National League East. They've all made moves. I just think the Phillies have ran out of gas. I thought last year they potentially ran out of gas and they had a great regular season and then just couldn't get it done in the postseason. I don't know. It just feels like the Mets and the Braves. Braves are going to get back Acuna and Strider, albeit not for another month or so. And the Mets added Soto. I'm going to put the Braves to win the division, and then either the Mets or the Phillies, but I'll favor the Mets there in an improved National League East. The Central, I'm taking a flyer on the Reds just because I have a hard time with the rest of the teams. Maybe the Cubs would be better. The Pirates are just begging for more offense. They just didn't do anything in the offseason to add enough offense to a really talented rotation. Joey Ortiz is going to be in the middle of the lineup for the Brewers, which is kind of cool. He's projected to bat, I think, fifth when I saw this morning. Cardinals really down on the Cardinals this year. They don't have much going on. It feels like a rebuilding year for them. Even though they're old, they're just in a weird state. The Cubs are the favorite, even though they've lost two games since they played to the Dodgers a week or so ago. I just like the Reds pitching. I'm going to go with the Reds. I think the Central's not great. Won great last year. If you made me bet a lot of money, I'd probably have to go the Cubs because I don't know if I want to put a lot of money on the Reds, but with the value and just not feeling super confident about the rest of the division, I'll take a flyer on the Reds. And then in the West, the Diamondbacks would be great. Whether Corbin Burns was on their team or not, I think the Diamondbacks are due for a bounce back year. A lot of their younger guys. Remember, they had to play a lot of extra games last year coming off the World Series run. They just weren't that good. I think they bounced back. I think Corbin Carroll's fantastic. He's my dark horse, or not dark horse, but he's my MVP pick in the NL if you don't want to pick Soto. But I got the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks being really good, and I just don't. I don't know if the. It just feels like the Padres are done. They kind of ran their course here, and it feels the same way with the Phillies, where they just got close, and now their best players are just a little bit older. I know Tatis is there, but they lost. They just lost Musgrove, the pitcher, won't be here for the whole year. And I just thought the pitching overachieved last year. So I think the Giants will get the last wild card spot. They added Adams from the Brewers, who is fantastic. And the Giants have enough talent on that team. I thought they were good enough last year, and they just were basically a 500 team. So I got the Giants getting the last wild card spot, and the Dodgers could win 190 games. Wouldn't shock anybody, as they are absolutely loaded. The only thing with the Dodgers that is, I mean, somewhat, I guess, of an issue, but I'm sure they'll fix it, is they don't even know who their best players are. They have so many moving parts with Mookie Betts hurt right now. Be interesting to see who actually makes their postseason roster. I mean, that's forever from now. But Dodgers have so many good players. Each and every day, they'll have three guys on the bench that could probably start for most teams. So Dodgers are, yeah, can't be contrarian against them. Going to the American League, I, I tell you, I'll start with the West. The Mariners are my pick as the best team in the whole American League. I love the Mariners. The pitching is fantastic. The hitting was so bad last year. It just by pure, I don't know, probability numbers, it's got to get better. They have to find a way to get some more production from Rodriguez or Rosarina from the Rays. Those two guys, their ceiling is so high. They just both were down last year. They're both pretty good this year. I mean, Seattle's pitching is ridiculous. They have six starters. Kirby's going to start the year. George Kirby on the IL, but they're just the deepest team as far as pitching is concerned, and I think the rest of the West is now. The Rangers are okay. They're not great. They overachieved when they won the World Series a couple years ago. They haven't really improved the roster that much. The pitching is just very average. The Astros are on their way down. They didn't bring back Bregman. They got rid of Kyle Tucker, which I couldn't believe. That to me was he is awesome. He's on the Cubs. They got rid of him. They're going to rely on Hunter Brown and Valdez being the best 1-2 combo as far as pitching goes for the Astros. But I don't know. I think they've lost some of their magic. Maybe they get the wild card spot, but I think the Mariners are going to win the division. The Athletics will be better. The Angels are the Angels. Eventually, the Angels you feel like they have to have a good year just by accident. They're never good. Feels like forever since the Angels have been good, but no reason to really think that they're a contender. I'm just going to take the Mariners to win the division, and maybe the Astros get that last wild card spot. It'll be either the Astros or I don't know if the Rangers will be good enough to get that last wild card spot, but one of those two teams. I think Seattle wins that division pretty handedly. In the Central, the Royals are going to run back. I think they're the favorite. Although the Guardians really, I thought they patched up a couple of their holes. I like Cleveland a lot. They play really good regular season baseball, tons of contact. They run the bases well. The Royals have a little bit more talent. The White Sox, I mean, they can't be worse than they were last year. I'm not as high on the Tigers. I know everybody wants to pick the Tigers with Skubal and a lot of their young prospects. They had a good run the postseason. I'm going to stick with the Royals. I don't love it. The Twins kind of get lost in this. Feels like the Twins are part of the Astros and Padres and the Phillies where they just couldn't get over the hump with some of their best players. And I don't know if they have the squad this year. I think Cleveland gets into the wild card. I'm going to take Kansas City to win the division. But I think Cleveland probably also gets a wild card spot. I don't know if I'll give the Astros a wild card spot. Probably like 3 in the East instead. So we'll give it to the Guardians and the Mariners. And then in the East, the Rays can't be good this year. There's so much working against them. It'd be really hard to see them being good with the way that, they have to play their home games at the Yankee AAA Stadium. They won't have, what's his face, their best pitcher to start the year, Shane. Anyway, their best pitcher almost won the Cy Young, but he won't be there to start the season, and they just don't seem like they have the umph to get over the hump, and with the way they have to play and how good the East is, hard to see the Rays being super relevant. The rest of the American League East it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be very competitive. I think everybody there is in that 85 to 92, 93 wins, where all four of those teams, I think the Rays will be significantly behind. But the Yankees, Orioles, Blue Jays, Red Sox, if I had to start with the Yankees, yeah, not having Garrett Cole's not great. Not having Gill's not great to start the season at least. But they did sign Max Fried. They don't have Soto, but they get Goldschmidt. They got Bellinger. I hope the Yankees suck, but they probably won't. They'll probably be a notch or two worse than they were last year, but they'll be right there. I don't think they're as good as the Red Sox and the Blue Jays. So if you made me rank them, I'd probably rank the Yankees last. I think the Blue Jays are a step behind the Red Sox because the Red Sox hitting, they have a really young core. The Red Sox are going to be good. That would be my pick unfortunately, they give the Orioles the most trouble would be the Red Sox. They bring in Crochet, but it's more about the hitting. I read a whole thing on the Red Sox a few weeks ago about their minor league system with their young prospects and their development and everything that's been happening. We're going to see a lot of those guys in the home opener. McClellan, that's his name, Shane McClellan. Jeez, my goodness, the Rays starting pitcher. I was like, what is this guy's name? Anyway, sorry, but Red Sox Orioles will be next week. We'll get an up close look here at those young prospects, as a bunch of them are on the team already. The Red Sox don't have the best players, on paper. They're a notch or two with Bregman and Devers, and Cassis. I don't think they're on paper as talented as the Orioles or the Yankees or the Blue Jays with their best players, but it's those young prospects filling out the rest of the lineup where those could be their best players. They still have Duran. Yeah, I like what the Red Sox did a lot. So that is my take on baseball. Get started tomorrow. Everybody's playing tomorrow except the Rays and the Rockies, which is just so fitting for the Rays. Everything is just a disaster for them right now. Maybe they do have a good season, and just because it's complete everybody against us mode, no home games ever, playing in a minor league stadium. But man, they got a lot working against them. They're going to play tomorrow, or they're going to play Friday because they still need to get adjusted to something with the stadium. They host the Rockies. Did I skip the Rockies? Yeah, I did, because the Rockies are just irrelevant. My only memory of the Rockies is like Larry Walker and Todd Helton back in the day. Although they did have a run. They had a run. They made it. They had a run when I was in college about 15 years ago, almost, whatever it was. Jeez, was that long ago? All right, let's get out of here. Time to roll. Maryland's playing Virginia. Maryland's playing Florida tomorrow night. Can't wait to talk about this game. I'll tell you one thing. I hope Queen and Reese are ready for the pick and roll. It's a very high level offense they'll be going up against with high level guards. We're going to run a high pick and roll. It's a lot of pick and roll with Florida with their big guy, and he sets a great pick. And Clayton and Richard, their two guards, especially Clayton. We're going to see what Willard's strategy is. Maryland looked great in the first half against Illinois, coming off a week-long break when they were being doubted as they were like a 1-point favorite or even a 1-point dog against Illinois in that game. They're getting 7 points against Florida. Can't wait. I'll talk about it more tomorrow. Orioles playing at 3, so they got that right as far as time goes. And then actually all the baseball games are at 3 and 4 tomorrow. Then they got the Dodgers game, 1 game at 7, 2 games at 10. Baseball's doing a better job here of trying to generate some interest. But all right, I'll see you guys in the morning. I'll have my underdog baseball pick every single day. And yeah. All right, see ya. Have a good day.